I quit Unity years ago. Back then, I had the option to either try Godot or C++. I went the C++ route, but I've always wondered what would have happened if I tried Godot instead. And it so happened that this year's Lundum Dea was right around the corner. It's okay, we'll try this out. I've never done this before. What can go wrong, right? It's gotta be easy, you know, because I know how to program in C++. Right, boys? Gotta be easy. C# support. Okay, so this is the first hurdle. Do I download the Godot engine? Or do I download the C# support engine? While I could have potentially gone with C++, there would have been no challenge, because I would have smashed through this easily. I wanted to learn something new, and instead I chose C#. Since this is also closer to Unity, which I have a little bit of experience in, I thought it would be a great experience, and I was excited to get started. We're going to use .NET. Alright, let's see. So, stable Windows. Wait. That's it? Yes, apparently that's everything that you get when you download Godot. It is just 2 executables that you can choose from and run, and the engine starts. You currently don't have any projects. Would you like to create the official examples projects in the asset library? Yes, I guess. The first thing I did was create a new project. In order to do so, I had to specify a path in which I wanted to save it. You cannot save project in the selected path. Make sure a new folder, choose one. What can I not? The projects? Okay, not sure why not. Would be a good idea to name, yeah. Godot projects. Let's specify this engine is like a fucking, like it keeps complaining. Just fucking create the fucking thing. What's your damn problem, bro? Ah, there's a create folder button here. I'm sorry. I'm take everything back. After some initial bitchiness of Godot, I managed to create my folder and then finally create a first project. It looks like this blue window is my thing, right? So how do I add in a texture? I wanted to add in my lovely Celeste character, but apparently that already disqualified me from one of the triple format events. I still continued my character because, you know, I didn't really want to participate anyways. But if you think about it, I'm technically not disqualified because I drew the original one. And therefore, if I draw this one again, it is a new piece of art, you know, with a little bit of inspiration. And that's how it became a unique asset. Yeah, exactly. True. 100%. That's a unique asset, my man. Okay, so now we have our Celeste clone here. How can I guess I have to export it into a PNG file, right? All right, so how do I get this in here? I'm just dragging it in here, right? Well, that's small. After some initial fiddling with the rendering mode, I had my first nicely drawn sprite in the engine. Nice, and now we can also scale it, right? What do I fucking click to see my attributes? Ah, it's here. There we go. So transform. Yeah, I would like this to be a scale 1. Where's the camera? Can I add in the camera? As far as I understand, everything in Godot is a node. You can create one by clicking the plus icon in the top left. Then a window appears in which you can select the type of node that you want. For example, in my case, I wanted a camera. Oh, it's centered on the character? I don't want that. What happens if I play now? No main scene has ever been defined or selected one. You can change it later. Project settings. Select the current. Celeste scene. There's my character. Okay, so now I would like to change this camera's view by 4. And I want to move my character inside. Hey! Dude, move the character! What do you mean? Are you stupid? The camera is under there. Ah, I see. So I have to get it out. Since I already had a node called Celeste, the camera node then became a child node of that. Make a node 2D and put them under the node 2D. This is dumb. Yeah, so apparently what I was doing wrong was that I had my first node, which was Celeste, and that Celeste was treated as a root node. And apparently, and I was thinking about how it was in Unity on the list to the left, you could just put in nodes everywhere and they will not be childs of the first node. So what I had to do in the end was create one new node and then set that as a root node in order to be able to disconnect the character from the camera, which is what I wanted to do. Okay, so now this node is just in the origin and I can move my character anywhere I want, and if I play now, my character is here. Okay, so how do I apply a script to my character? Next, I wanted to code in movement for the character, and apparently you do that by attaching scripts. You then get the option to choose between GD, which stands for Godot script, or you could also go the C# route. I obviously went with the C# because I knew that it would be easier for me and more aligned with Unity. That is what I hoped. Process. This is run every frame. Delta is elapsed time, previous frame. Okay. Do I have Vim? No, I don't, right? Is there a way to get Vim into this? What followed was a 30-minute section of me trying to add the Vim key bindings to Godot and failing. In my opinion, the documentation of many of these things that I found online was not very clear. Now, obviously, I didn't try really hard to understand it either. In the end, I tried to settle on the native editor in Godot, and I wrote my first function, the approach function of Celeste. Anyways, what I wanted to do is create... Do we have like an approach function? But I realized very fast that the code editor of Godot wasn't very helpful because it didn't give me any IntelliSense at all. While I could search for certain things in the editor, that was nice. I wasn't able to inspect anything, you know, the typical shift-click mouse situation where you jump to the definition of, let's say, a function and then you get information. So I have input, it looks like. I just don't have documentation on this. I don't have IntelliSense in this editor at all. This editor sucks. And so ultimately I made the decision to switch to Visual Studio Code by setting the settings inside of Godot. That is actually possible and I really like that. For all of you Godot noobs out there that want to know how you can do that, you go to the very top into the editor option, and then in the list of options you scroll down to the .NET section, and there you have the editor option. Inside of this you have the external editor, and this is where you can switch over to Visual Studio Code. You then close it, and the next time you open up your script, you will be able to code in Visual Studio Code. If you can close the script, that is. No. How do I close the script? I accidentally deleted deleted all my notes. I clicked here to close the window. I can't close this window. What the fuck is this shit? Go away. Why is there no X button on the top? What is this dumb fuck? Judy at the top? Oh my god. Okay. Now, setting up Visual Studio Code is not as straightforward as you might think it is. You still need a launch.json and a tasks.json. The task file will be the one that builds the application, and the launch file will be able to launch your program. But there's also a website online in case you're wondering actually how to set that up. Now, let me quickly set this up. Okay, so it works. Okay, cool. Very nice. The cool thing about Visual Studio Code was that it would actually show me IntelliSense, like for example function names. It returns true if you are pressing the key in the current keyboard layout. You can press the constant. So it's called is pressed. Being able to use Visual Studio Code really motivated me, and I started to set up my first movement script. A very simple script that would just approach to a maximum run speed based on some run acceleration using the delta time. The approach function is something that I got from my engine. I was only struggling a little bit with the delta time. The run acceleration times the delta time. Time.delta time. Oh, it's delta right here. Oh my. The next big hurdle for me was weird because I wasn't able to actually assign the position directly. I had to do some weird object-oriented programming bullshit where you have to assign a new vector to the position of your character, which is something that gets inherited because it is a actor or a transform in the engine. What are you complaining about here? Can't modify the return value of the position because it is not a variable, nor to the position. So essentially I wasn't able to access the components of the vector, aka x, y and z directly, but I was able to add in an entire vector 2 directly to the position. Okay, that's the first dumb thing that I've seen so far, but okay. Okay, where's my character? So, since the camera is not on the origin, the character is probably not on the origin either, right? Look at this, guys. We can now move to the left and to the right. It moves it moves faster to the left and to the right, guys. Godot sucks. Like, I literally have the exact same function in C++. Complain count ++. No, this is dumb. Because I'm literally doing exactly the same in the function. This is inverted, but okay, we can invert this. You know, we could do this, and then we can just move this here. Okay, I'm stupid. It's not the engine, I'm sorry. It's not the engine, it's me. Because, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm stupid. There you go. Okay, that looks really good. Next, I wondered if it was possible to export data members or class members to the inspector like in Unity. Turns out you can do that, you just have to supply the export keyword. And in addition to that, you have to supply these get and set functions. How do I assign it though? It was 12. That's not the way this works. What is this shit? I've never seen that. That's an abomination. In addition to that, in the editor, you also have to click the build button that is behind the chat right now. And then you can see behind the chat, there is these fields that I exported. Oh, it's right here. I don't know if it worked. It was right. I wasn't watching there. We have our character moving to the left and to the right. Okay, how do I do a tile set? Adding a tile map was very simple. I just had to add in the tile map node. Tile has no tile set resource. Create a loaded tile set resource. Oh, let's create one. Okay. And so that is exactly what I did. Using the tile map in Godot was a little confusing. In short, I had to go to the tile map tab at the bottom and then simply drag the sprite into the tiles field. Atlas textures was modified. Would you actually like to create tiles in the... Yeah. Okay, we got it. And then the quadrant size is 8. What do you mean? 8, you dummy. It still doesn't... It only... I then spent the next 30 minutes or so to figure out how to set the tile size to 8 by 8 pixels. In my opinion, it was not clear at all what to do and which option to change, and that could have been done much better and easier. Eventually, I found the small setup tab, and inside of this setup tab, there is a texture region, and when you change this texture region from 16 pixels down to 8, then it selects the correct tiles. Great naming, by the way. Totally intuitive. Awesome. Wow. All right. Okay, so now how do I paint tiles? Because if I click now, then I deselect the tile set. Whatever, dude. Okay, so let's make some collision here. My first idea was just as in Unity, I would need to add some sort of collider to my tile map. Turns out that was not the case. Then there was this collision animatable that apparently, I don't know what that has to do with collision at all, but that has nothing to do with actual tile collision. Not sure why it is there, but for me that was very confusing. But it turns out you have to go to the bottom editor again, but instead of using the setup tab, you now go into the perfectly named select tab, and then you have a bunch of list entries there. One of them is physics, and inside the physics one you have the physics layer, and inside of that physics layer you can draw polygons. Basically what you do here is you place a bunch of points which then get converted into a collision box or a collision polygon. Drawing 4 dots will result in a rectangle, and then that is the collision box of that particular tile. And this is for one tile? I have to really repeat this? For all the tiles? How are you supposed to find this out? It should just be a fucking button. Turn on collision. I mean, I guess some people want to have it like this. You can auto do it, genius. Oh, really? We should have collision now. That means if I take my character and I add a child node, which is a collision shape, 2D. And then in this collision shape, we use a rectangle shape. And then we just make this, you know... Oh, we're going to do it like pixel by pixel, huh? We would do... Let him cook. Yeah, let me cook. And I'm pretty sure I can have the like collision layer setting here. There should be a collision layer setting, but I guess it's colliding with everything. Play. It's gonna work. Shit, I'm not falling down, of course, I forgot. I'm out, this shit's painful. Celeste needs a character body instead of a sprite. Why? That would be dumb. Let's make the character fall real quick. Ignoring everything that chat said, I continued making my character controller, and therefore I added gravity control to it. So whenever the character would not do anything like jumping, it would just fall down using gravity. Collision doesn't fucking work, guys. I flew right through the fucking ground. Because you're a texture cake? I have a collision shape on me. What do you mean? I have a collision box around me. Everything that has a collision box and is being moved should be stopped, shouldn't it? Collision shapes only serve to provide collision shape for a collision object derived node. Please use it as a child of an area static, rigid body, or character body. Okay, fine. So what we need is a character body, what you guys are saying. So if we take the root here, we add a child node that is a character body. So essentially I had to make a character body 2D, and then as a child of that I had to add a collision shape 2D and a sprite if I wanted to show it up as a sprite. And then in the collision shape I had to set what type of shape I wanted. And in this case obviously it was a rectangle. And then the sprite, okay, this looks good, whatever. Let's just try to load this. My character falls through the floor. This is dumb. Like, it should stop me from doing so. You won't collide until you're going to use physics instead of force setting the positions. This is dumb. This is dumb. This is really dumb. The problem happened because I was setting the position directly. And when you do that, it doesn't take into account any collision detection at all. So I tried setting the velocity and then calling a function move and slide, which takes, I don't know, the physics engine into account. Alright. Okay, I'm done here. But instead there was another function that I could actually use to test collision, and that function was called move and collide. One of the parameters was a boolean that you could use to test for collision only without actually moving the character. And so I then used this function to only test for collision, and then I would implement a basic move x function of Celeste where I would move 1 pixel at a time, and every time I moved 1 pixel I would test, well, are we colliding? No, we're not colliding. Okay, actually move the character. And I would repeat that until I found the collision or I'm done moving my character for this frame. Oh, it does. Look at this. Move X works. I can't collide. Look, we have made our own collision detection in Godot with move X, and we could do the same thing with move Y. Oh, also, the moment we move, we do move minus minus, of course. Oh, and also, this has to be a while, of course. I quickly did the same thing with the move Y function and then tested it out in game again. Wow, I mean, what the fuck was this speed? And now it's in an endless loop. Initially I thought the game was just running way too fast and therefore my character was running so fast. But no, it turns out I was running at 60 frames per second. I also found some bugs in my two move functions, but that also didn't change anything at all. I then decided to implement jumping just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But it turned out jumping was even more broken than actually moving. Jumping would always push me down with tremendous force, and so I thought maybe, well, the gravity in the engine was affecting my character, and so I turned that off. But that also didn't do anything, and then I tried to turn off the gravity for the 3D engine, and that didn't change anything as well. Like, why does it always behave like shit in these games, you know, when you don't use the physics? It's insane. Like, this is not how it should behave. It is obvious because I wasn't actually using the physics system of the engine, and therefore gravity shouldn't have any effect on me at all. But I was still left clueless as to what was happening to my character. Can you please tell me where I'm colliding in Y direction? Can you please tell me where the collision happens when I'm moving in Y direction? Can you please tell me? Because I'm not. This is what happens. This is why I move down immediately after I jump. Because the engine thinks that I'm colliding, but I'm not. I'm clearly not colliding. I'm a fucking dumbass. Okay, I'm an idiot. Basically, I'm an idiot. This is supposed to happen when I'm colliding. Over here too. I mean, it can happen to the best of us, okay? Stuff like this can happen, okay? Fall speed. Okay, now that we can put fall speed on 3, we can also put the jump speed on -3, and then we should be good. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, the moment I set it to -3, it gets set to 0 again, like a second. What is wrong with you? At this point, I was 100% sure that the problem was in Godot or not on my part. And so I started debugging to look what exactly was happening step by step. And it turns out that I'm actually shit at programming because I couldn't even copy my approach function correctly. In the if check, I had a greater sign instead of a lesser sign. But in order to mask that I've just wasted about 1 to 2 hours of time and it was actually my problem, I did what I could do best. Complain about the engine and its functions that it gives me. It's really triggering me that this engine by default doesn't have a .adjust pressed function, and I accidentally press jump again when I get to a platform because there is no just pressed function. It does? Well, it does not. Or it does, but it doesn't make it easy for me to find it. But it turns out I was wrong there again. I'm seeing a pattern here.
You don't say.
Because apparently I shouldn't be using the keys. Instead, I should be using actions that I bind to keys, and then it allows me to use these generic actions. And these generic actions can then be just pressed. Really cool. I really like this. I know it's strings, but that's really cool. Wow, guys, it works. Okay, now it actually behaves exactly the same as in C++. I've literally created the same thing or the same game in Godot as I have in C++. The next question I had to answer was, how do I connect this game, which is basically the Celeste clone that I've done before in C++, to the Lundum Day event, which was limited space. How is this related to the theme? Well, you are confined in space to the left and to the right, and you have to go up. Limited space to the left and to the right. I mean, they didn't say in all dimensions. Now, what if we make the camera focus on the character? What happens? And I came up with a genius idea. I can only press the spacebar a limited amount of time. Therefore, I have limited space. Genius. Fucking genius. I decided on 50 spaces, and in order to actually get access to this, I had to define a label, which is a node, and then inside of our character script, I had to define a label type that I then got access to by calling the function getNode that took in a label type and then a path to the label. And this, I guess, is what I've heard as well, is the downside of Godot, because you have to supply these paths, these string paths, to the specific nodes that you want to access, and therefore this can get out of hand very quickly. It is definitely a weird thing to do. I would have loved if there was like more ways to do this, but again, I could be wrong about this because I'm very new to this, so yeah. It's a little bit annoying that these don't have IDs that you can assign, like integer values, you know, but okay. I then decided on 50 spaces, added that to the character, and that's what it would look like in game. Every time I pressed the spacebar, I would decrease the count by 1. And if I had no more space count left, then I couldn't jump anymore, aka I lost the game. And there you have it, my first game in Godot, made in roughly about 3 hours. I have to say, I in fact enjoyed my time. It was actually a very nice engine, much better than Unity, I would have to say, simply because it is a little faster. That's what it feels like on my system. And after a couple of hurdles, I actually like using it. So I could see myself making a game like that, or maybe a better game in the future. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe like always. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!